How you doing, YouTube? It's just me sitting here thinking and talking. Get in the truck, dog. So, I'm watching this documentary about how the moon is hollow, right? That's freaking funny because, well, I don't believe we actually went to the moon. I don't. And so when you're looking at all this telemetry that supposedly came from the moon landing that shows that the moon is hollow, from my perspective, all of that telemetry was created, man. It was made up. That means someone intentionally planted evidence that the moon is hollow, as well as, you see these little pieces of footage that show aliens and spacecraft on the moon, and you hear reports of they looked out the window and saw this. Well, if the moon landing is a hoax, then all of that evidence is also a hoax. It was planted. That's just wheels within wheels within wheels, man. They faked the moon landing, the trip to the moon, and within the telemetry that they faked, they created cover-ups for people to discover and theorize about. Wow. And this just lends itself to the whole alien deception. I mean, why did they deceive us that they went to the moon? Did they do that in order to implant this evidence of aliens? You can see a concerted effort on the part of Hollywood, which there's plenty of evidence to show you has been controlled and directed from the offices of the CIA, which was primarily created and staffed with Nazis taken over during Project Paperclip. And, well, the whispered, never spoke of White Mountain issue going on too. I mean, you got areas in New Mexico that are completely undeveloped in spite of being resource rich. And, yeah, well, it's just, I can't bring you up to speed on all this stuff. It takes years and years of research, but there are people who are much better at laying it out there for you, because I'm not really interested in giving you all the facts. Just letting you know how I feel about it right now. It's insane. Watch the news. Can't believe anything they have to tell me at all. I'm just flabbergasted at the things I hear people who aren't in a corporate pocket reporting. And they got plenty of evidence. It's not like they're bullshitting you, and you're asking yourself, how come that's not on the news? Why not? I mean, they keep talking about Russian collusion over what? Now, 700 days worth of coverage on Russian collusion without a single piece of evidence ever presented that would stand up in front of a jury. And I can't imagine anybody who spent 600 days doing anything showing zero results wouldn't get fired. If I asked you to do a thing and a year later you had no progress, well, you're fired immediately. So why are these people still employed? Why aren't many of them in jail? I mean, this morning, amazingly enough, Miss Michigan in the pageant mentioned, well, I heard about it this morning. I guess it was yesterday. Instead of bragging about her accomplishments, she stepped up and said, Michigan still ain't got drinking water. Shocked everybody. Of course, she didn't win because nobody loves a conservative in the media. The fact is, how come people aren't in prison there? They poisoned hundreds of children in a manner that will, not might, will affect their children. So countless number of people, not even born yet, have been harmed by what was done. People installed that shit illegally. People who paid for it, signed off on it, allowed it to be done, right down to the guys working on it who knew it was lead and put it in anyway because their bosses said. Every last one of them is culpable, bears some responsibility, and should be named in the lawsuits and sent to prison. I mean, oh my gosh, what I'm doing right now is going to poison millions of children and affect all of their grandchildren with decreased mental capacity. You essentially created 20 million retards. I know that's not a politically correct word, but it's a psychological designation of a point on the IQ scale. And that's all I mean by it. Retarded, not fully functional. And there'll be hundreds upon thousands of them born because of this. I mean, you think about the emotional devastation of giving birth to a retarded child. I mean, it's your child. You love the shit out of it, but it's broken. It'll never grow up and buy houses for its siblings. It'll never grow up and take care of its parents. It'll never grow up, produce grandchildren that, are collegiate stars and athletes. It's just so many aspects of what a prosperous life looks like will be denied these people who have these children born to them. It'll become financial, emotional drains upon society that can't even be calculated. The amount of stress, chaotic evil waves that emanate from this single act, they're just not calculable unless you're God. God does know, and someday he's going to make every last one of them stand up and explain. There's no explanation at that point. Everything you did is in the past. Your intentions are laid bare. That's another thing, the judgment. It's difficult for me to look at that and think to myself, what I believe is that, talk about a shift gears. All right. So God told us in the Bible, in pretty much clear and plain language, certain and sure, that sin may not abide in his presence. It doesn't happen. It says that. And the verbiage is clear. You can check the original language and see that it says exactly that. Sin will not abide in the presence of God. Okay, so now you're going to be judged by God, which means you're going to be in his presence. You're going to stand in front of him. So if we accept the Bible as being 100% accurate, then when you're standing in front of the God for judgment, there's no sin in you. You're sinless. To be judged, you must be in his presence. Well, it says we'll be in his presence when we're judged, and in his presence is no sin, and you're there, so therefore there's no sin in you. So, what are you being judged for? What? Not your sin. It's not there. God doesn't remember it. He placed it as far from him as the east is from the west. They don't meet. So, pause for a second. You'll be judged for your obedience. Just like it tells you, you'll be held accountable for what you know. And you were commanded to know more. Start with that. That one commandment right there, in my mind, from my perspective, which is definitely fringe, the most important commandment that God gave us was to know him. And interestingly enough, in the book he gave us to tell us about him, what he described was us. Crazy, isn't it? God introduced himself through the medium of giving us the history of the people he chose. That in itself is just divine and amazing. I mean, I'm going to tell you all about me by explaining who you are. I couldn't manage that task, but he seemed to have done it perfectly. You go through that Bible, you learn to read it for what it says and not what men tell you it says, You can't help but be amazed at the divinity involved in every aspect of every word that aligns with truth. The Bible is never wrong. I challenge anybody, anywhere, to show me a statement from the Bible that's wrong. I'll discuss it right here with you and show you why you're seeing it improperly. With perspective of what's really being said, you'll find out that it's never wrong. God bless you all. Pray. Pray with me. Pray for me. Pray alongside me. The world is in need of men who can see clearly what needs be said. A lever in the right place at the right time can move a mountain. Be the lever or the fulcrum.